All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Head in the Clouds from Go Cloud Careers. Tonight, we've got a special guest that is going to be talking about how they got their first cloud architect job, and not just how they got their first cloud architect job, but how they got their first cloud architect job without any previous tech experience. So, before we get started, I just want to kind of let everybody get settled in here. So this weekly show is where we come to unwind, have some fun, talk about topics that are important to you, and just kind of let our hair down, so to speak. I might be the only one that can do that, but but that's what we're here. That's what we're here to do. You know, the our goal at Go Cloud Careers is to help you reach your dream careers, and the three of us that are on here almost every week, we have over 50 years of leadership experience, and we are here to help you and share the knowledge from our extensive background with you. So again, we're going to be talking about how this person got their first cloud architect job, how they got their first enterprise architect job. We're going to talk about their experience with our Cloud Architect Career Development Program and Cloud Career Training, and then what it's been like in their role. They've been in the role for a couple of months, so we're going to talk about that. But before we get started, I want to make everybody aware of a few things, and hopefully our team is ready in the chat box there, because I added something new to the list for you guys. So. Let's see if you can figure this one out. So this Friday, we have a new webinar that we're going to be doing. It's a special webinar. It's just one time only. This webinar is specifically about how to handle a potential layoff and how to get rehired with a better job. This webinar is going to be Friday. It's going to be free. It's going to be Friday at 3:15 p.m. Eastern time. I know that seems weird, but Alonzo and I are going to be part of this webinar with Mike. Alonzo and I are going to be teaching class from 1 to 3. So I had to give myself a little bit of a buffer there so that I could fix my hair and brush my teeth and make sure that I look appropriate after the 2 hours worth of class. So make sure you register for that. And it looks like they found that link. Perfect. That link is in the chat box there for you. So that's free for you. We're going to talk about this sensitive topic that's in a lot of people's minds right now. And then of course we're going to take your questions. But this is not going to be on YouTube. This is going to be a private webinar. So make sure you register so that you can attend. Free but private. The next thing I want to make sure everyone is aware of is, of course, our regular Thursday, How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. We're going to be doing that on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, that's our webinar where we talk about the cloud architect role. What is a cloud architect? What hiring managers actually want in a cloud architect? How to deal with HR and those job descriptions that don't make any sense for the cloud architect. And then actually what cloud architects need to know and learn. We're going to go over all those things so that you can hopefully have a good roadmap to become a cloud architect with us or on your own. Either way, we'd rather you do it with us, but we want to give you the information so that you can go do it on your own if that's what you desire. And then, of course, just like all of our webinars, we'll take your questions and answer them and hopefully get you pointed in the right direction. So make sure to register for that as well. Again, not on YouTube. That will be another private webinar, but free. Make sure you join us for that. And then, of course, for a little bit longer, we have a special 60% off discount on our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program. This is a program that has 3 weekly live classes for an entire year, so roughly 150 live classes over the course of a year. Has hundreds of hours worth of content, over 200 previous class recordings that you have access to, all kinds of stuff. Everything that's needed to get you to your goal of becoming a cloud architect. And Wallace can talk about it when he joins us. But currently available for 60% off. It's the last time that that program is going to be available for less than $1,000. So make sure to take advantage of that if you haven't, and if you're interested in becoming a cloud architect. So take advantage of that while it is available. So before we get started, let me make sure I don't have anything else to say. Mike and Alonzo, before we get to what everybody is here for, do you gentlemen have anything to say?
Yeah, I'll start it off and then we'll go to Alonzo. So here, the reason we do these is to make sure that you know what an architect actually is and what an architect does. I'm going to tell you right now, and boy, it's so good to see you, Abigail, in the audience. AWS certifications have people so confused with what an architect is that it's really nothing related to what we do at all. And Wallace will tell you all about that. But the architect job is one of the best I've ever seen. It's a job that pays more than most physicians and most attorneys. And any one of you can have it. And literally any one of you with the right preparation and the right training. And I want people to have the best lives. You know, for me, every time somebody gets hired, and it happens all the time, it's like a big party celebration. I call Alonzo, I call Chris. We're all doing our party dance. Mine looks a little bad because I don't have rhythm, but whatever the case is, it's an exciting event to us. And you can all do it. And I say this all the time because I speak to people and I ask them what they want to do. And the thing that stops them is fear. And I want to show you all that you can all do it. Wallace is amazing. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm proud to know him. I'm proud that he's here to share his time with you. But guess what? He didn't work in tech, just like I didn't work in tech when I took a senior role. And he got an enterprise architect job, which is of course working on cloud, but that's even harder to get than a cloud architect job. You typically need 4 or 5 years of experience as a cloud architect to get an enterprise architect job, and it's his first job at one of the world's largest banks. And we're real proud of him. But the point is all of you can do it as long as you get the right training, you do the right amount of effort, and you get to your goals. You're going to be fantastic. So to me, it's always exciting when somebody gets hired. I love bringing them in front of you. And, you know, over to you, Alonzo, and then Wallace and I are going to have a great talk.
Good. I almost brought the buzzer out on you, Mike. So I said a few words. I'm in charge.
Well, you know, Chris runs a tight ship, everyone, but I am excited to be here. I'm always looking forward on Tuesdays for us to get together, talk about many great things, especially what happened to Wallace and the exciting position that he had. We had some behind the scenes conversation, and we are looking forward to sharing everything that we talked about with you. So without further ado, let's get cracking, gentlemen.
All right, let's do this. Give me a second. Let me pull out all the stops. Here we go. I think let's go with this. Yeah, that's. There we go. All right.
It's the best intro, Wallace.
Wallace Agana.
You guys are making me feel like a celebrity.
You're joining us at tonight. 11:15.
It's going to be a lot worse. And I know you had to shut off your LinkedIn account because you received so many things while you were in our program that you had to shut it off because it was driving you batty. It's going to get a lot worse. So welcome, Wallace. We're super thrilled to have you here. I want to first thank you because it's 11:15 your time in England, and you're here to share your experience. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So without any further ado, I'm just going to disappear. Alonzo, you want to join me for some coffee? We're going to go back here. We're gonna let Mike and Wallace have a spirited discussion. I guess that's how we'll say.
I think it's going
to let you guys have a spirited discussion, and then I'll come back and be a referee at some point.
It will be a spirited discussion.
Well, you gentlemen have fun. Alonzo and I will be over in the chat box with everybody.
Popcorn and lawn chair. See you there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, y'all have fun.
We'll always have fun. So
hey,
Wallace, you know, everybody tells me it's impossible to get an architect job without having 10 years of engineering experience. Did you have any tech experience prior to getting your first architect job?
No. No. Should I say that again? No.
Now, what do you think of this job? Is this a good job or is this a great job?
Is there anything better than perfection? How can you improve on perfection? I think it's a great job. It's the perfect job. I always say this, that The day I came across your podcast and I listened to you the first time, I knew that it was going to change my life. It has changed my life. Less than a year that I listened to your first podcast, I took action. I registered for the program, and I was consistent. And today, it has changed my life.
These are the things that really get to me when it changes people's lives, and just to let you know, that's why I do it. So I know you worked pretty hard, and we had messaged several times as you were in the program, plus you participated a lot. You had a full-time job while you were in the program too, right?
Yes, I did. I had a full-time job, but I was multitasking because I had a full-time job working from home. I was also in the class as much as and as often as I could. And when I couldn't be in class, I watched the videos to help me. So there was a lot of resources to help me on my journey.
And that's really great. I know there's a special community of people that work together throughout the world. And actually, Chris was the first person to put that together with Slack. I thought I was going to have a small private little coaching thing in the beginning. I didn't realize how big this was actually going to get, and I couldn't be happier. And the team we've worked, I'm very proud of people like Chris, Alonzo, and all the others. I like Leo, and there's just and Chow. Well, Super Chow is what I like to call her, but there's so many throughout the world. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, then we're going to get into the fun of it. So, do you code in your job as an architect?
Absolutely not. No. I don't know how to code, and I don't code.
Yeah, I don't know how to code either. Do you write Terraform scripts or CloudFormation scripts?
No.
Do you configure anything on the cloud?
No.
Do you touch the technology ever?
We know the technology. We don't touch the technology.
Would you say you're an advisor?
Absolutely. That's my job. My job is to advise. My job is to govern, ensure best practices, and that's it.
Okay, so you're more about putting the pieces together, building the plan, and somebody else does the building.
Sure. It's exactly what an architect does when building a house. He does all the information, the backdrops, the calculations, and all that, and the design. And he says, you know what, this design is going to withstand hurricanes, is going to withstand earthquakes, and all that. Is going to withstand floods. Take this and build. So we do the design. That's what we do. We ensure that the designs that are put together are best practice, and that's where our job ends.
And I know you work at one of the world's largest banks. So do they use a single cloud like they teach in a certification, or do they have a multi-cloud or something else bigger?
We have a private cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, all.
So it all, which is kind of what I would expect. Are you using all these little proprietary services like they teach in a certification? Or is it all big enterprise grade stuff?
Enterprise grade. You're talking about enterprise grade firewalls. You're talking about enterprise grade auto load balancers. You're talking about databases that are not, you're not locked into. We're talking about real enterprise grade solutions.
Would you say that how similar would you say an AWS certification is to what you actually do as an architect?
AWS will teach you to know the names of the product. Doesn't teach you how it works. We build the products. We know how to build these products. AWS will teach you like the basics, but I didn't learn so much from AWS. I learned the names. I learned what they were used for, but how to use them, how to put it together, I learned it on this course. I learned it on this program. So I would say that while AWS will tell me the name of, and it's just a certification, it will tell me the name of the product, it will tell me what it's used for, how to put it together. No, I didn't learn it from AWS. I learned it from here.
And that's why we put together an architect course, because in a certification, they're saying, here's how you use DynamoDB. But in practicality, for an enterprise like yours, you can't use it anyway, because you're hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, private cloud, and you need something like a MongoDB or an Apache Cassandra. Streaming data, you'd probably use an Apache Kafka versus something like Kinesis, because it doesn't work across 3 clouds.
Yes, exactly. So we use proprietary enterprise grade proprietary technology, not technology that is streamed to a cloud provider or it is attached to a private cloud provider. Because, I mean, because of the sheer size, of the organization I work for, you cannot be exposed to a single point of failure. Hence, you have to use multi-cloud. You have to use databases. You have to use all sorts of things that cannot be proprietary to a single cloud provider.
Right. And for the audience, in case they don't know what he means by enterprise proprietary, it means like an Oracle database that you would use across all three. It means like an F5 load balancer that you could use across all three.
Yes.
It means like a Palo Alto firewall or a Cisco firewall. And
Not a
that's
shield,
enterprise grade proprietary.
Yeah, not a shield, like AWS will say, or not that we're using enterprise that will work across every technology or every cloud that you have, be it private, be it public or hybrid.
Now, do you focus on the business or the technology?
Absolutely, the business. We don't touch the tech. We focus on the business. We transform the business. We make it more efficient. We make it more agile. So it is that's what we focus on.
And what do the engineers focus on?
The tech. They configure, they deploy. They are the ones who do it. But we don't. We advise. We govern. We advise. We tell about best practices, the way the things have to be done. We don't tell the engineers how to do the job. We don't tell them how to configure. We don't tell them how to deploy, but we tell them they are. I like to use the word toll gates. How we tell them, look, this is what is necessary to achieve this. For example, you need to have high availability. You need to do configure in 2 availability zones. We don't configure. We don't touch the tech, but we advise on what to do.
Exactly. So they're hands-on technology professionals, those engineers. Do they know how to design or do they know how to build?
They know how to build. They don't know how to design. We advise on the design, not on the.
And that's the thing where people don't understand is the architect is just like the person that designs the hotel. The engineer is the construction worker of the cloud. I can give someone a hammer, a screwdriver, a nail gun, and that doesn't teach them how to design the hotel because it's a different job.
Totally different.
Now, how important are soft skills in your job?
I'll say maybe 101%.
Okay.
Soft skills, that's what makes an architect. For example, I mean, I've been 2 months in this role, and all I've done are meetings to convey situations, to convey messages, to convey new directions. And I mean, when you speak with engineers who generally are, engineers like to code, are stuck in their ways. There's very little room for maneuvering. You have to be able to negotiate, bring everybody onto the table, discuss, the vision and the direction where the business is going, and then try to get everybody on board. So 100%, you need soft skills for that. You don't want to come across as a bully. You don't want to come across as being rude. You don't want to come across as impatient, or, not everybody not coming on board because of your solution. You want to be able to communicate your ideas in a way that they will understand. A way that, apart from seeing it from the technology angle, they will also see it from the business angle. And at the end of the day, when you see something from the business angle, it's a solution. It's a wholesome solution for everybody. So most of my time is spent in meetings. I will say 85% of my time is spent in meetings. 85% of my time is spent in meetings. The other 20%, probably in remediation and advice.
Okay. And those engineers are super smart people. I don't want anybody to think otherwise. They're very smart.
Absolutely.
It's just that their focus is different than yours.
No, they will build anything buildable. Anything buildable, they will build it. They will get it to work. They will configure it. But sometimes it's not just in line with what the business requires. So sometimes they may build a solution that will never go down. I mean, that will never break. But they've built that solution in only one availability zone, for example. So it is exposed to failure.
Right.
And so we come back to say, you know what? While your solution is beautiful, your design and all that is your configuration is wrong, because we need to have security or resilience in another availability zone. So our focus is different, but we are all working together to achieve one goal.
Yeah, and that's really the key. It's this. So a lot of finesse in your job, would you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
How
have
about
to,
keep going. I'm sorry.
yeah, you have to have I like to use the word, and I picked up that word from you, Mike, in the classes, gravitas. You need to know what you're talking about and be able to communicate that in a plain, simple language where everyone understands and will follow through. And that is a skill that is required by architects, because you're meeting everybody. You're meeting product owners, you're meeting application developers, you're meeting project managers, and you have to bring everybody to the table to understand where the direction which you want to go, and of to have a role to play in it. Everybody has a role to play in it, but you want everybody to feel important, feel that they are fulfilling their part of the role to ensure that the full and big vision has been met.
So you go to a lot of meetings. Do you write a lot of documents?
We use documentation tools, not too much document, but just your ideas, like things like Jira and Confluence, not
Okay.
so much document.
You're not in the sales side. If you were in the sales side, you'd be writing documents all day.
So the RFIs on the sales side, where they are responding to the RFIs and RFPs, a lot of documentation using the collaboration tools, and then writing those documents. But I'm in resiliency, so we are just on the real advisory part.
Okay, so that's because you're more on the enterprise side. For the audience that's not sure, the cloud architect focuses on the business and the technology, and the enterprise architect focuses even more on the business. And typically, enterprise architects earn far more than the cloud architects, because here's a secret, everybody in the audience. The closer you are to the business, the more you earn. The closer you are to the tech, the less you earn. Even cloud architects, for example, according to salary.com, people with business acumen earn $549,000 per year, statistically speaking, in the US. And a principal architect, which is a business job, is about $508,000 at Google, about $378 at Amazon, and about $380 at Microsoft. And the enterprise architects are at the elite business level. And the cloud architects are a little more on the tech, but an elite architect like Wallace is going to be on both sides. Because all cloud architects, as they become elite, focus more and more on the business and less on the technology. So communication skills, how important is that to get the requirements from the business people?
Oh God, communication skills. I think that's also very important. Not I think, I know that's very important. It is one of the skills that you need to master. You need to be able to to communicate your ideas across. I mean, because you're working with a whole range of stakeholders here. You're working with people who have different cultural backgrounds. You have different values, different understandings of words. So you need to be able to have that communication where everybody is on the same page, understands clearly what needs to be done, and in communicating, not offend anybody's sensibilities.
So in our program, we do a lot of emotional intelligence training to make sure we can communicate and not offend. Do you think that was helpful to you?
Absolutely. Now, let me say that my journey to becoming an enterprise architect, I didn't really know what an enterprise architect was. I just knew that I wanted to be in cloud and all that until when I joined the program. You talked about enterprise architecture, you talked about security architecture and all that, and I chose enterprise. I chose enterprise because it needed the most soft skills. It needed, it needed the most soft skills, it needed the most knowledge and all that. But and it was through this program that I learned the differences. I learned the importance. I learned what needed to be learned, because I followed through everything you said about gravity. I mean, my favorite word from you was always gravitas. You always needed to have gravitas. You always needed to have, you know, emotional intelligence. You had to have patience. You had to have respect. These were the things. These were soft skills that people take for granted, but it was very important. During my interview process, feedback. I will share my feedback with you.
Please.
Feedback I got was he listened, he allowed people speak, he understood the questions being asked, and he responded appropriately. These were some of the feedback that I got from my feedback from the interview, and I learned this on the program. During the Friday classes where we were taught how to attend interviews, how to practice for interviews, things to say, body language, all sorts of things, box breathing. I mean, I was very nervous at one stage during the interviews because and I remember at the top of my head box breathing, breathe out 4 times. That real pattern and all that. Truthfully, I think it was a full academy. It wasn't just the teaching. It was real life scenarios. There were things that I would never have known. I came across box breathing on this academy. I never knew what box breathing was. And there are so many other things I didn't know. So I say that what the tech teach, what certifications teach you is just the names. This academy for me was much more than the amount that I paid to join. The value you can't quantify. The value of what I got from this academy cannot be quantified. How much do you want to pay for someone to teach you emotional intelligence, for God's sakes? Or how much do you want to pay for someone to teach you how to communicate at this age? How much do you want to teach you real life scenarios? How much do you want to pay? You can't. It's because it's a full life learning that is being given for free. I would like to say for free because it's part of the program. So for me, I would say my learning, not just from my past experiences, but also because of the program, the full contents of the program on this course was very, very helpful and instrumental for me in getting into this role.
If I told you that it cost me over $325,000 to learn these skills, and of course the companies paid for them, and it took a total of 25 plus years plus time in medicine to actually learn these skills, when I put it all into a program, I did it because I wanted people to have jobs that they could never get on their own. So everything from the how to control your mind, to how to communicate, to how to present, to how to sell. I'm glad you noticed it. Because people try to tell me, I want to see your syllabus. And I say, you won't understand my syllabus unless you're actually an architect and you actually know what we do.
And I'll say something. Even in the meetings that I attend, my mind always go back to the learnings on the course. So I'm going to say something that this course for me is not a course. It's a living document. It is something I will always have to go back to and learn and listen and study, and because it's a living document. What you've created is short of magic, Mike. It is something that I have, and it's bringing tears to my eyes because I couldn't believe that I would do it. But every time I spoke with you and every time I went to class, you opened by, you're the greatest. You can do it. You can do it. You're the greatest. If you cannot do it, nobody else can. You can do it. You can do it. It wasn't just motivational speak. You put your back into it. You gave us resources that show that things could be done. Anything can be achieved. So I want to say here, I want to say now that I'm grateful And thank you. You have changed lives, and you are changing lives. I also want to request that that program be, I don't know, patented, whatever, but it is a living document for me. As people run to the Bible, when I'm in trouble or I don't know what to do, I run to your videos. I watch those videos over and over and over again. I take the learnings and I go back and I shine at my meetings. Thank you, Mike. I mean, you've done the Lord's work. However you chose to do it, you've done it and you're doing it. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Wallace. And obviously, I'm a little bit moved by that because this the whole reason I do this, the whole reason we work the crazy hours that we do is for these kind of results. And first it was me, and then it was Chris that joined me, and Chris pours his heart into everything too. And then we brought on Leo, and then it was Chow, and then it's Alonzo, and look, we even have 2 people in Cameroon, and we've got 2 people in South America, and we've grown globally, and it's kind of exciting to me. But it's these results that make it all worthwhile for all of us. So, thank you, Wallace. It's a little bit hard for me to deal with this because I'm just so excited for you and so happy for you, and I know you know that. And obviously, you still have access to the course materials because we didn't take it away because we wanted you to be able to go back to this to continually go back and get better.
Yeah, because you sometimes it's something that I always log on to at the close of every week. I watch some videos. I remember that every time I had an interview, I went in and I searched for a video that will correlate. And you know what? It was like every question that the interview was asked, there was an answer from that video. I don't know how, but it always helped me. Not all the time did I get the roles or get the offers, but I never left any interview feeling bad that I didn't perform. I led the interview feeling confident for the next opportunity. Always confident. And I was always happy when I left an interview because I will say I did myself proud and I represented. So those videos, what you're doing, it's not about the money. It's deeper than that.
Not at all.
It's much deeper than that. The value that we get is so much deeper. Again, I will always say thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Wallace. Now, one thing that I'm going to just ask you, because people worry, they worry so hard about when they don't have experience, how our employer is going to find them. We did a little resume training in class and a little LinkedIn training. How did that affect you? Did the people start coming out to you, or was it hard for you to find people that wanted to talk to you?
So I mirrored what your training. I mirrored it on another monitor. And so while you were designing the resume and saying stuff we've learned and how we need to communicate this out there, instead of writing about the technology, writing about the tasks, the projects, and I did that, and I was just being bombarded on LinkedIn.
Bombarded with people that wanted to talk to you to hire you.
People wanted to talk to me. People were, just because they saw Go Cloud and they wanted to talk to me. They wanted to hire me. They wanted to interview me. It became too overwhelming, and so but it was such overwhelming feedback.
But if I tell you that since you signed up, we added Alonzo because he's got 32 years in marketing to help build the brands of our student. We have an executive communication coach, Marla, who's now amazing. 2 business school professors that are there. We've added several CCIEs to teach networking. And we now have over 300 years of experience in our instructors since the time you joined the program.
Not surprising.
Because I want Chris and me and Alonzo and our rest of our team to work, how can we make it better, make it better, make it better, make it better? And wait do you see some of the new things we're doing. And I encourage you to keep popping into class here or there because we love hearing from you. We really do. Anytime one of you guys are successful, it affects me, as you can tell. I know you've seen it in class. It's like I got hired for the first time because you guys are all family, and I love all the students that I have, and you guys, the way you treat each other, I'm just so happy and proud.
Mm.
The way people work together on projects.
Yes. And
The way we had one person at JP Morgan Chase, and now we've got a family there. The way we had one person in AWS, it started. Actually, it was Richard Fukar was our first at AWS, but once Yvonne Tamba went there and Coyote was there a week later, poof, they were there. Jeffrey West went to one employer, and now there's a whole bunch of our students in this employer, and we're just everywhere from Microsoft to Apple to Google. It's just exciting, and I love that you're at a bank because that's where I really got my deep learning.
Mm.
Because the banks get to work with technology that nobody else can afford, and they've got complexities of system that nobody else can possibly imagine. And what you'll learn there, you can build an entire career there, which I really hope you do, because banking is fantastic. Or you'll have to be very careful with your LinkedIn profile, because everybody knows that once you work at a bank, you can do anything. The expression was, if you can work in New York anywhere, you can work anywhere. If you can work in a bank, oh my God, the things that you can actually do.
Wow. Wow.
I am sure I have a phone that I don't normally look at, but it looks like there are things going on in the chat box. I know Chris and Alonzo have some questions. Why don't Chris and Alonzo, can you come back in? Alonzo, I know it's literally 11:43 p.m., so I'm grateful you're sharing your experiences, and I'm sure we'll answer more questions, but let's bring in the rest of my team.
Right. I gotta say that was a great discussion there.
Yeah. That's a stamp that you can't quantify on what it is doing for everyone, especially how it impacted Wallace across the board. That speaks volumes, and anyone who is hesitating on how this is going to be beneficial for them, there's just, I don't know what else to say. Example after example. I'm excited for you, Wallace. I am thrilled. I am like cheering for you across the board for your success,
Thank
what
you.
you're continuing to do, how it's affecting other people. And you think about everyone that, say, for instance, calls on their first day to sign up, and you think about that time that you registered, and then you look back to the time that you got that offer letter, and all the sacrifices, all the focus, all the discipline that it took for you to get there. It says everything about you as a person, as a man, as a professional, and I am proud of you. And I know everyone that's in that thread, they will follow in your footsteps.
Thank you. Thank you. It was, again, it wasn't always difficult. There was a lot of humor in class. There was, there was a lot of humor in class. There was a lot of fun. There was a lot of jokes. I was always looking forward to hearing something of Mike's experience. There's always something he brings up somewhere. He used to be in the sales, or some kung fu here, or some food somewhere there. Just something just random used to usually come up, and you just really want to be interested and want to listen. So it wasn't just, oh, come to class, we're going to study this. It was like a day in the life of Mike. That kind of community where let's talk about the tech, let's talk about the design, but let's also talk about life, and you really want to hear about that. So you kept it engaging. It was an engaging session at every time. It wasn't just let's build a solution, and then of course the little smacks and jokes you put in there, and then it makes it all lively and all worth it. So let me add that it wasn't that stressful. It was stressful, but we could handle it. We could handle it because of the humor.
And I try to add. I spent a lifetime in martial arts, so there were lessons there. Yeah. I practiced medicine at one point as a nurse practitioner, and there were lessons that I learned there. So, life is cumulative, and each job, whatever we have, can be applied. My little cat's obviously visiting us right now, hanging out on the trees, which always makes me smile. Had to go to a whole new office because my cat wouldn't go to my old one. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I tried to bring in things, and I try to have other people share their experience.
Yeah.
Because, all backgrounds are good. Sales backgrounds are absolutely incredible. Sports backgrounds, oh my God, they're incredible. Engineering backgrounds, they're good
come from a
too. But
sales
every background has itself to enrich the other backgrounds, and I think that just does so much for us.
Yeah, and especially I come from a sales background. And back in the day I used to do a lot of presentations, and so when you said something, when we first joined this program, you said the three things, and this is the only three things I'm going to say to you. An architect designs, presents, and sells. And I'm saying, how does an architect? I'm in IT, for God's sakes. I'm going to be configuring all that. And he says, designs, presents, and sells. Now, in the 2 months I've been at work, I've done a load of presentations. Now I understand when you say presents, because you're presenting every idea. You're presenting every idea. And because it's a bank, you have a lot of stakeholders. I have to sell that idea. So now I understand when you say presents and sells. You must present and you must sell, because you're presenting, like I'm presenting to you guys right now. It's an idea, and I must sell this idea to get it working. So that's just putting it a synopsis to it. That is what we do as architects. We design, we present, and we sell, and that's it.
Isn't it amazing how every time you run into a scenario at work, Wallace, that you always go back to what Mike says, and it's like, okay, he said this. This is real life. He knows what he's talking about, and getting that consistent reinforcement on what you've learned. And it's just, I want everyone in the chat to understand that these are the real steps. This is why we teach what we teach. This is how and why things are in certain order to maximize efficiency, your ability to be successful, and get to where you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I want to see if Alonzo's got some questions that he wants to ask, and then I may or may not have any questions to ask. We'll see. And then I know I've got a list of some questions that I've been picking out of the chat box over here. So, Alonzo, what kind of questions do you have for Mr. Wallace?
Okay, Wallace. I was wondering. I think everyone is chomping at the bit, so I'll ask this, and you can provide that timeline. But what is the first week and/or 30 days like as a enterprise architect?
Crazy. That's one word. I was summarizing this just one word. Crazy. You need to learn everything and know everything. As an enterprise architect, you're one of the, in quotes, brightest minds. They expect that you know everything or have an idea of everything. And I will say I didn't fail. You know why? Because of this program, we learned everything. We learned how to talk. We learned how to negotiate. We learned how to have gravitas. We learned the tech. We could talk about the tech. We knew what we were talking about. And when people see confidence, we had confidence. We learned confidence. When people see that you have confidence, they tend to keep quiet a little bit and listen to what you have to say. And when you have something solid to say, they begin to respect you. Now, I've learned, apart from presentation skills, selling skills, which I was a salesperson, but I've learned gravitas. I've learned to use the right communication, try to understand the technology, try to portray and carry that understanding of the technology and explain it to the engineers or to my stakeholders. So it was crazy from the get-go.
Rubber meets the road, you are flying.
It was crazy.
I believe that. I believe it. I was just thinking, it was like, okay, you go through the studying, you actually start your first day, and you probably opened up your email, meet and greets and everything.
I'm going to tell you something, right? So I opened up my email, and I've been added to a whole technology groups. Resiliency here, this, that, security here, this, here. And guess what? And in my mind, I'm saying, how do these guys think that I'm a security architect or I'm a resilience architect or I'm a network architect? And I'm just saying, then I said, oh, right.
I mean,
I was trained end to end. I know
mhm.
how to secure my application. I know how to distribute my application. I know how, to ensure my application is resilient,
Yeah.
and all that because I was trained end to end. So I, at first 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, I was a bit phased, but, I took a step back and remembered what I had learned in the academy. The academy taught me never to back down. I mean, there were tasks that Leo had put together, you had put together, Chris had put together. Say, look, study this, do a presentation on this, show us how what an ELB is, define what it is, tell us this. I thought this was, I thought it was stretching, because you come back from work late at night, you haven't had dinner, that, and then you're going back onto the academy to do the take home away assignments. It was, I mean, but you see, I did it at 2 a.m. I was sitting on this seat and doing it. And I was sending, my first draft, and they'll say, no, the lighting is not good. You're not sitting well enough. Your tone of voice has to be, and all sorts. And I was like going crazy. But you see, it was the training that I needed to start on such a fast, in such a fast-paced environment where everybody felt that, well, he's an architect, he's an enterprise architect, he already has to know this. I'm grateful for that training. I'm grateful for the confidence that you kept instilling that confidence, and you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. I'm grateful for that. And this is, over the last 2 months, this is what has helped me. I'm saying 6 months ago, I didn't think that I would be an architect responsible for the resiliency of a 2 billion, 5 billion, $100 billion bank.
Yeah.
Today,
No
I am,
pressure, huh, Wallace?
yeah, and today now, every resiliency decision has to come through me.
That is, it's that type of authority. It's just like Mike would always say, how do you eat an elephant? And how do you handle that responsibility? How do you handle all of the Slack requests, all the emails, the meetings, one bit at a time? I guess it was just such a, and I know, and I understand, it's like when you finally have that realization of what your authority is, you are the authority. Everyone goes to you to find out what to do, how to do it. Your decisions are guiding the architecture of a global bank.
Mm-hmm.
And, if nothing else, trying to impress a significant other, that goes a long way, let alone,
I'm gonna interject here with some questions from the chat box that
Yeah.
actually relate to the conversation that you guys are having.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
let's check it.
First, I'm gonna say I'm gonna share what Igor just put in. Oh, this sounds scary. But there was a question earlier. I can't remember exactly who it was or where it was, but they asked, how often do you interact with other architects? So I'm going to ask that question, but I'm also going to ask, are you all alone?
Never,
Doing this by
never,
yourself?
never alone. Never. You know where the word teamwork is? That is the definition of an architect's job. You are never alone. I have a project that I've been put to lead. However, I have architects that are working with me. You can never be alone as an architect because, ideas have to come together to crystallize. And only one person can have an idea that crystallizes. You have to have multiple ideas to come together to crystallize it. And that is what makes a good architect, being able to accommodate, being able to work in collaboration, to take people's ideas in together and make it work, help make sure that everybody is inclusive in a project, that inclusive nature. That is what an architect is. You can't stand alone. I can't be a security architect and at the same time be a network architect, and at the same time be a resiliency architect. Everybody has their strengths, but you bring these strengths together to make something awesome, something work. That's what it's all about.
So
Teamwork.
it sounds like when Mike is always telling us that the architecture is a team sport.
Yeah.
He says that. It's like he says that every day. So is that what it's like? It's a team sport.
It is absolutely. It is. I'm collaborating with architects in Japan. So sometimes I have to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning to join a meeting to understand what that architecture or what is being proposed. So and you have to do it. It is something that has to be, because it's a collaborative thing. It's collaborate. Architecture itself is collaborative in nature. You can't deploy if there's no sign-offs really from all the experts. So I think that what happens is everybody is given their areas of strength, come together to build a solution that is almost perfect. It's resilient, it's secure, it's secure on the network, is scalable. All that comes together
I
to
love
be
it.
to deliver the business in the long run.
So sorry to hijack your conversation there, Alonso, but
No.
I knew that there was a question previously about working with other architects, and the way that he was talking, it did sound kind of scary. Like I'm responsible for all this, but being responsible for something doesn't mean that you're doing it all by yourself.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's something that I think is important and sometimes gets lost in translation.
Right.
Because I can say I'm responsible for this entire in my past life. When I developed new hotels, I was responsible for the new hotel development. I didn't mean I designed the hotel, built the hotel, measured everything to make
So you
sure
see,
that the plumbing was right, or dealt with the city on every meeting and every permit. But I was responsible to make sure that all of these things got done. So I had a team of people.
Yes.
correct.
Similar
And
to what it sounds like your role is. You have a team. You have people that are.
I'll go back to communication. We have to communicate clearly. So let me communicate clearly again. While my unit is responsible for that decision, I work with a team, and that team, work together to ensure that all these controls, all this governance is adhered to, and then before deployment can take place. So we work in a team.
Yeah,
However,
checks and balances.
there
Yeah.
are checks and balances everywhere.
Well, when it comes to, like, say for instance, because you are, I love this analogy. I'm a John Wick fan, so you guys are basically the high table, if you will, and you are the authority for what you need to do. Is there going to be any traveling, or will you be doing more Zoom integrated meetings? Because I know with that type of position, you may have to be doing going to different areas. What would that look like for you?
It's a combination. There's going to be a lot of Zoom meetings. There's going to be a lot of travel. There's going to be a lot of dinners. There's going to be a lot of golfing.
Yeah, I was going to ask that too.
But there's going to be also a lot of business meetings to
Yes.
to ensure that there's you advise and make businesses transactional, transformational.
Well, I was thinking it's like also, say, for instance, with pre-sales, you have to deal with external clients, keeping them happy. But from an internal perspective, now you're dealing with stakeholders of specific departments, and you have maybe cost centers that they have to transact with and keeping them satisfied and happy. So it's not necessarily the pre-sale scenario. However, the ultimate concept is there where you still have to maintain those relationships and keep everyone happy.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's the element of sales everywhere.
Yeah.
your stakeholders can be internal or external. My
Mhm.
stakeholders are internal, but I have to keep them happy
Yeah.
to make the business requirements achievable.
Yeah.
They are my
Right.
internal stakeholders. I have to keep them sweet. I have to keep them happy. I have to be respectful. I have to communicate in order, and all
Mhm.
that. Just as I will do the external parties, if I were
Right.
a sales architect, I will do that inside because
Yeah.
they are the ones who's going to help me get my job done.
Yeah, and I was thinking it's like, okay, you have these certain silos for your stakeholders, and
Mm,
maybe a solution may be effective more so for this one as opposed to that one. You have to go through the negotiation process to find something that's amicable for everyone, and that may take time. That may have to require a sit down. You may have to do liaison work between the two to establish a common ground and move forward, and that takes delicate conversation and maybe depending on what their interests are, golf for this person, or rather, you have to learn how to be a sommelier and understand one version of wine over the other so that
yeah.
you can. I mean, you have to be so versatile in everything you do. Not only do you have to read that documentation to get the answers that they
Mhm,
need,
mhm,
but you have to do the recon based on what we talk about in our discussions and
yeah.
blogs and everything else. You got to recon those stakeholders to find out, okay, are they easy to work with? If not, then why? How can I navigate?
So
Who do I need to bring with me to talk about it?
absolutely. So I have some stakeholders who are sometimes gatekeepers. I
Mm.
have cyber stalked them.
Mm.
I Yes, I have cyber stalked them. I have gone and I've looked at, oh, he's a Liverpool fan.
Mm.
And I go to his table and I probably put a Liverpool cup of tea
Mhm.
mug on his table, and I sit down with him drinking my tea, but it's the logo is showing Liverpool, and I know instantly I've caught his attention, and we have a common,
Recon.
you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, you learn that over time, but you see, these are skills you also need to learn, to be
Mm.
able to keep communications going. So I'm not ashamed to say I cyber stalk my stakeholders because I need to
Yep.
have that common ground
It's
to
called
work.
recon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
You
Ah,
mean,
reconning. That's it's called intelligence gathering, and you're doing what you need to do to
yeah.
win. It's chess over checkers. It's not something you got to think about 2-3 moves
Mhm.
ahead and how you're able to win and get things done.
hmm.
Another time there was a lady who she's more like a police officer in the bank, like an ISM, and she actually deploys and tries to gets all the architects and application owners together. And I knew she was interested in Caribbean food, so I brought up the topic about
Yeah.
jerk chicken and all that. Oh, what are you having for lunch? I want to have jerk chicken. Oh, and her eyes lit up. Instantly, we had a connection. You know.
Wallace is my boy. Okay, what do you
So,
need?
so you know what? I do a lot of reading, a lot of documentation, a lot of
Mhm.
studying, and then if I want to have stuff done, I will cyber stalk you to get information about you. That is the job of an architect. You need to have a level playing ground with
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
So I gotta
Okay.
ask you, where did you learn that?
Yeah. The
What, what-
recon. Where did you learn that recon, man?
On the academy.
on our academy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we taught it how to do it for an interview, how to win the interview, but we also
Mhm.
taught it, how to build relationships because you have to have rapport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are great examples. It's just you're getting, not only are you establishing your capability and you're able to transact, but you're establishing your brand very
Mm.
quickly in your role. That Wallace, even though he's been here 3 months and they gave you a ramp up period basically for a year. Now, I want everybody to understand the gravity of that situation is that they're teaching you how to ramp up. They're trying to get you to ramp up for an entire year. Yet that has been like broken down to a fraction of the time because of what you learned and how you're applying it in your new position. That's awesome.
Mm. Yeah. And that's why I say you guys, you're doing the Lord's work. That's really that's I mean that's all I can say. Doing the Lord's work. Because You're giving people hope. There's this saying of this book by Barack Obama, The Audacity of Hope.
Mm-hmm.
That's Barack Obama. But I've seen it real life with Mike and the team. The Audacity of Hope.
Okay.
I've seen it.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Love it, Joe.
You know.
All right. I got a lot of questions over here in the chat box. Alonzo, you got any question that you think is worthy of your last question? So to speak?
I am not going to spend all my money in one shot. I'm going to table that for later. I'm enjoying my conversation with Wallace, but I won't be a hog. I want
All
to
right.
I want everyone in the chat to have a shot too.
All right. So let's get to some of these questions. And just to let everybody know, I may prevent Wallace from answering some questions if I know that it's something he can't talk about or shouldn't talk about that might be employee or specific or put him in an awkward situation. I may put it on the screen, but I'll say we can't answer it because of XYZ. But I don't think I've seen any of those yet. So I just want to be fair and let everybody know we're not going to be answering some questions if they happen to get asked. If you ask us what his compensation is, we're not going to answer that. If you ask us specifically what questions were asked in his interview, we're not going to answer that. But or if you anything that might be proprietary to his company, we're not gonna answer those. So here's our first question. Well, I just had it and then it moved around. Here we go. So our first question, how did you manage working full-time and being in the program? What was that like for you? I know you talked about it a little bit, but if you can give us a bit more perspective into what it was like for you at that time.
All right. So,
and the reason I'm asking you to go a little deeper is because there's a lot of people in the program that are working full time.
Yeah. So I will say how it worked for me. Different people, different dynamics. I was working full time, but I was working in the office. What I used to do was I used to log on to the program with my earpiece on. So while people, and then still working on my computer. So while people thought I was either listening to music or just had my earpiece on, I was listening to the classes. And sometimes I was always distracted, taking notes down if I needed to go back to watch the video. So you have to have creative ways to be able to achieve what you need to achieve. I knew that many times I may be even too tired, to go back to these videos. But once you've listened, you've heard, there's some things that you take down and you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go back for 20 minutes to watch these videos or to recap what I said in class. These are important. You need to have that consistency. Once you build a consistency, whether working full-time, working part-time, or what the silver bullet for me was the consistency. Once you get that consistency, if you don't do it, you realize that something is missing. So whatever works for you. I was creative with using earphones while at work, listening to, and again, I'm in a different time zone. So when Mike starts at 10 a.m., it's already 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. my time. The day is almost gone. So of course, there's a lull in activities here in my side when it's just starting in America. So, different various dynamics. Try to find out what works for you, and that's all our advice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's what I always like to say is consistency. Whatever it might be, if it's 30 minutes a week, 30 minutes a day, just 2 hours a week, 2 hours a day, whatever it is, make sure you stick to it, and that will be the key. There's a question that just came in, and I think it's very. I'm going to go out a little order here, but I'm going to pose this one to you, Wallace. Clement says, with no cloud experience, what's the best program for me? I know
Go
what
cloud.
I think. Go cloud. I
Drop the
agree.
mic.
Yeah.
we got we got
why
proof, we got testimony, and we got the receipt. So
But why would you? What? Real quick, what makes you say that? Just in a quick,
I
concise
think I've said it. I've said it
Give
in
me
the
give
course
me
of
your elevator pitch. Why is it?
my elevator pitch will be go hard or go home.
yeah,
That will be my elevator pitch. And you know why? Why go hard? Go cloud will go hard. Go cloud will go hard. And if you're
I
not
like
ready
that.
for it,
I'm writing that one down. Go cloud, we'll go hard.
and if you're not ready for it, then go home.
drop the mic, Wallace. Drop the mic.
I dropped the mic.
I'm gonna. We're calling the copyright lawyer tomorrow.
Right.
Trademarking
I like
that.
that.
Go cloud, will go hard. I like that.
I'll be right back. I have to take the cat.
You got to take a cat. All right. Well, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward answer.
Yeah.
But if this person is asking specifically about our programs, we only have one because we focus. If you want to become a cloud architect, we have one cloud architect career development program. Now we will be launching a premier version of the program in the future, in the next couple of months. But at its core, it's still built on the same program. So with no experience, so many people, so many people have had success with this cloud architect career development program. So if your goal is to become a cloud architect, then the Cloud Architect Career Development Program is the program to enroll in. That's the program for you and for anyone that wants to be the cloud architect. So I saw Bob Welch in there. Bob Welch said, "Congratulations, Wallace." I
Yeah.
don't know if you ever had the opportunity to work with Bob, but Bob was in the program as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Next question is from Max. Oh, we answered that one. That was the one about working with other architects. Okay, let's see. We got Just Eat Plants. I like that. That's an interesting name.
I must humbly disagree, my friend.
Yes. All right. Just Eat Plants says, do you work permanently from home?
No, I don't. I do once or twice a week in the office, and the rest I work from home.
What is it like? Because I know everything is, and I'm sorry, Chris, I got to hijack this for a minute. What is it like? Because what city are you living in, Wallace? Is it
I'm in
London,
Bournemouth.
Manchester?
Bournemouth in England.
Okay. What is it? How are you integrating working in London and their work style with your responsibilities? Are you working with a lot of people from different nationalities and company? From different countries, and how are you able to integrate with those different culture variations?
You have to do what you have to do. If you have a meeting that is all encompassing, so you have for example, a security meeting, you're going to be working with people in Asia Pacific, you're going to be working with people in America, you're going to be working with people in UK, working in South Africa. You have to make time available to be in that meeting. Because remember, most of our job is to be in meetings that will determine the future of the business. So if you're not there, then you're missing out.
Yeah.
So it's not about it's not about sacrifices, but again, being able to determine and to decide what works for you. So we are collaborators. We have to collaborate, and it's not going to be convenient for everybody at every time.
Right.
Sometimes people make sacrifices Asia Pacific people sometimes join my meeting. Americans sometimes join my meeting. People in South Africa sometimes join my meeting. It's all about understanding and being able to collaborate and accept the existing conditions and working with that existing condition.
Yeah, and the reason why I said that, because I think from my perspective, I love speaking with people and from different backgrounds, and I think it's exciting to collaborate with different thought processes and like, okay, well, I never thought about it this way based on X, Y, and Z and how we can come together and create that solution. So that's why I had mentioned that, because I love working with people from varying backgrounds. It's so much fun.
Me
So
too.
you said Bournemouth, is that correct?
Yeah, Bournemouth. Yeah.
Is that in? Oh, that's on the coast, like the south
Yeah.
coast.
Actually, I'm overlooking the Atlantic right now.
Okay,
Oh, that's nice.
gotcha. All right. So you're not in London or
No, I'm not.
Manchester,
Right. So
or you're
yeah,
not near any of these major
no,
tech, what would be considered tech or business centers.
no. Well,
So
for JP has a campus. They have two campuses in the UK. One is in
okay.
Bournemouth and one is in London. Each
Okay.
campus, UK campus has about 4,000 or 5,000 people, and London has a little bit more. Right. So I'm in
Okay.
the second campus. Really,
Okay.
I live where the second campus is.
Gotcha. All right. Move to our next question. We kind of talked about this earlier. You can decide after this if you what you want to do with it. Wallace, how can someone get in touch with you? Are you on LinkedIn? Well, if you missed it earlier, everybody, Wallace, I don't know if deactivated or put it to sleep or put it in hibernation, his LinkedIn, because he was getting so much activity, people pinging him and everything. So it's
I
currently
will
not
answer the
active.
question.
But we'll
Chris,
see what he
I'm
says
going to
here.
answer the question as truthfully as I can.
Okay, good.
Yes, I was on LinkedIn and I will be back to LinkedIn, but right now I'm in hibernation, and I'm only in hibernation because I was getting a lot of pings. No, I won't say distraction. It's good distraction. A lot of pings, inviting me for interviews, and all sort of things. But I wanted to concentrate. I wanted to concentrate on the program. And then when I got the job, I wanted to concentrate and get settled in the job, and then go back onto LinkedIn, where I can now put my my current status. So right now I am in a hibernation, but in a few weeks I'll be back.
And that's great. Do you think that the branding that I started, which now Alonzo with his more marketing experience than I actually have, made it so the world's coming out to you constantly?
Yeah. There's a lot of, and it's mainly because I'll start like this. They say, we see that you have on the Go Cloud Academy career program, stop. It starts like that. Every introduction really starts like that. We would like to speak with you. So what I'm saying is, it is because of that Go Cloud thing, that Go Cloud logo, that Go Cloud mention. Yeah, people want to talk to me.
That's great.
Many of the introductions are, based on your profile, you have been Go Cloud. We want to, stuff like that. So it is being, I think that brand, that name has drawn a lot of attention.
Yeah. So I know you guys over in the UK like to go to the pub on Friday afternoons after work. But
nice pint.
but
Yes, a nice pint.
But if you want to join us on Class Friday, Alonzo and I are going to be doing a class about branding and perception. That might be something you're interested in. And I know you don't need it right now, but it's always a fun topic to talk about.
Yeah,
But,
it's always I remember the Fridays, we always have a good laugh. So why not?
Yeah. So you can have your pint and listen to Alonzo and I talk about branding.
Yeah, I'll have my pint.
So let's see. I'm going to put this next question up, and then I've got to step away for just a second. So our next question, Alonzo, I'll let you read it off here.
Okay. From Lacketh, Question: is there something you would have done differently with the program when you started?
Yes, I would have never missed a class. One, I'll tell you why. And I'm not saying it because I'm trying to be coy or anything like that, but I will have learned much more. I've said something. I said that the program is living. It's a living program, meaning that it doesn't expire. It's just like the Bible. You always, once you want some response to some situation in life, you go to the Bible. It's a
Yeah.
living document. Once you want some response to some activity at work, you go there. It's a reference point. It has become a reference point. I don't know much. I'm not one. I didn't go through 100% of the class, but I'm this confident. I didn't finish one, and that's the truth. I'm sorry, Mike, but that's the
It's
truth.
okay.
I
You
didn't
got you the
finish
results.
Yeah, the results are what we.
I
Yeah.
didn't finish 100% of the class, but I got this, right? I'm this confident, I'm able to defend. I mean, so if I had the opportunity, I would take the class seriously. I would
Mm.
take it as serious as a university class because it is much more, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
That says a lot. Thank you.
it says a lot. And when I put that course together, I tried to put pretty much every possible situation you could ever find yourself in. And if you couldn't finish it all, that's still okay. The goal for us, and we say graduation is when you're hired. And we give everybody a year to do it. We're not going to be like the people that say your 16 weeks are up, goodbye. You're hired. That's when you're done. But you still go back to it, and please go back to it, and please pop into class. I'd love to see you there.
Absolutely, we love to have you. I mean,
We really would.
some of the greatest conversations that we have is the transaction between our Go Cloud Careers alumni and the students, and how what they're learning now echoes into what you're already doing, and that cross pollination is really powerful.
It really is. Like other architects come back. In fact, one of our architects just got hired, and there's an employer that wants to hire a large number of our students that's coming to class next week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we love, when our community reaches out and forms a bigger family, all to help each other for the same goal.
Let me even, mention something here. Mike, when you were teaching a class, there was a strategy you said to always answer any question posed at you. I broke that down and created a format from what you said. You said, what is it, what it does, and what's the benefit? So, what is auto scaling? What it is? What does auto scaling do? And what is the benefit? So, any question that is asked you in an interview, that is the silver bullet to answer any question. That way, you don't speak too much and you don't speak too small. You're just at the right amount of time and the right information they need. They will know that you know what it is, you know what it does, and you know why it is beneficial. Those were the three things that you taught, and for me, became the format in answering any questions in the interview.
I love that. And that's how I've always answered them. And I've honestly never been on an interview that I didn't get an offer to. Oh, that's not true. One time when I was a kid, I missed a train and couldn't get a taxi, so I ran 3 miles in 20 minutes and didn't look so sloppy. But other than that, I've never been on an interview where I didn't get an offer. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that thousands of hiring managers told me afterwards, that they like that. So I ask every hiring manager in the world, what do you really need to hear to hire somebody?
Right. So let's see. Our next question is from Sleeper Fan. Is that correct? Fan. I think. Got to find it. No, that's not the question. Here it is. And I was going to ask earlier what your hiring process was like in a general scope. So can you talk about what it was like for you? This person is asking about whether you were recruited or if you applied, but can you give us an idea of what your interviewing and hiring process and recruiting process was like?
All right, so I'll tell you what my recruitment process was like. I applied for that role because I liked what the job spec said. I felt that I could do it, so I applied for the role, and I got called for the interview, and there were 5 vice presidents or 4 vice presidents and an executive director that interviewed me for the first stage.
Wow.
So, you know, he said, if you know what you know, come in here and do your thing. And so we went head to head. It was like real head to head. And there was a question, and I'm trying to remember, and I'm going to say this here. One of the vice presidents asked me a question about selecting a server. And she said it was not possible. And I said, no, it's possible. You can actually select a server you want to use. She said it's not possible. And I said, sticky sessions. What are sticky sessions? And she couldn't tell me what sticky sessions are. And I said, well, I'll leave you with sticky sessions. And then, we closed the first stage of the interview, and they come back to me to say, we liked your interview. You spoke very confidently and you didn't back down when we even put some pressure on you. And let's just say, sticky sessions actually allows you select your servers. And when they said that to me, it was confirmation. It was confirmation for me that, wow, But guess what? They came back with saying, we're sorry, we cannot hire you. You performed properly, you performed well there, but we just needed someone with a little more years of experience. But they said all the good, nice things. Mm-hmm. And then that one liner was the rejection. I didn't feel bad. It was like, oh, well, it's okay. I mean, these are the nice things. And 2 days later, I get the same an email saying, we loved your interview. We loved how you responded to us. An opportunity has just opened up and we want you to take it. Are you still interested?
Amazing.
Didn't we talk about sometimes you get auto rejected by HR and still hired because that's why we try to keep HR as far out of the process?
Yeah. And so I said, yes, I'm interested. She said, well, I gave you the feedback, but the hiring manager wants to speak to you again. He's asking me to ask you if you're still interested in the role. And I said yes. And so I went straight to the hiring manager. She just passed me through straight to my hiring. The man says, we're not interviewing you again. We just want to ask you, if we give you this opportunity, are you going to be happy to take it? And I said, sure, if you make me smile. And he said, it was very, I won't say it was so formal. There was the back and forth, there was the discussions and all that, but there was the confidence to respond and to engage. That's how my interview process was. There was a lot of conversations. There was a lot of pushbacks. There was a lot of negotiations. It wasn't the typical do an interview, you made it or you did not. There was, we like this about you. We didn't like this about you. Or we are not very clear about this. There was this back and forth conversations. And then I'm sure all that back and forth was to ensure that, are we making the right choice? Mm-hmm. We like this. Does this guy, can he give us what we want? And
negotiation. Yeah.
That negotiation was important. And again, we have talked about and discussed over and over negotiations and conversations in class with how to bypass hiring managers and, and all that. So it was like playing a script. And I was like, oof, here goes. And I wasn't surprised when they came back to say, okay, we want you on our team, sign the contract and let's go. So that's really how my interview process went. There was a lot of conversations, but my first interview was the real interview where I was grilled on the technical bit, but I also grilled on leadership and I was grilled on learning capabilities. So on leadership, I was grilled on sharing knowledge. I was grilled on helping mentoring people. On technical bit, I was grilled on all sorts of, from networking to or to scaling to provisioning and all that was grilled on the technical bit, but I was also grilled on this technical the leadership bit and the mentorship bit. So yeah, that's how the interview process went.
That's amazing. I love it.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Life is a
good stuff.
negotiation.
Good stuff there. Well, what a lot of people don't realize is that the negotiation starts before you even interview.
Yes.
Mhm.
So you handled the interview exactly right, and that was part of the negotiation. So let's see. Think I'll pose this one to Mike and Alonzo. Quick question, Alonzo. Can we go directly to enterprise architect without going to cloud architect?
Well, we've got an example right here. It's not the case per se, but because Wallace was able to execute everything that we teach down to the letter.
Yep.
He showed confidence, capability, discipline, the ability to solve his own problems, answering question, showing up for class, demonstrating his confidence, experience via how to build it on cloud and be able to talk through these scenarios effectively. These are one of the not the normal cases.
Yeah.
This is an exception to the rule, but normally the career path would include starting off as a cloud architect first and then matriculating on to becoming an enterprise architect.
Yeah, and Mauricio, I don't like. I would always rather say no, but look, Wallace did it. We had someone that owned a landscaping business that did it this year. Again, not a tech professional. We had 2 other people that became enterprise architects because in our training, we provide cloud architect and enterprise training in the same program. And here's the reason: we want our cloud architects to have the better opportunities later. But Mauricio, I think that it's more realistic to say cloud architect without experience, sure. Enterprise, look, it's done. Wallace did it, and we've given you some other examples, but I don't want to overcommit to it. I'd say set your sights on being a cloud architect, and if you really focus on the business acumen, soft skills, and leadership, and you're able to do it, congratulations, you skipped a step. But if not, you'll be very happy as a cloud architect. I promise you, it's a great job.
Either way, they made Wallace smile, and they'll make you smile too.
Yeah, no, either way.
All right, let's see what our next question is.
And I see Bob in the audience. We're thrilled to see you, Bob.
Bob, always a pleasure.
All right. Sorry, my thing went down to the bottom. Okay, so
Princess.
I like this one. TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more.
Thanks, Reggie.
I think Reggie knows a thing or two about being a team player.
A little bit.
Yeah. Reggie knows about being a team player.
Bit.
Reggie knows about pushing to be the best and fighting with all of his might. Reggie, thrilled to see you here tonight.
And Lady Godiva, of course, the good
Teamwork
old-fashioned teamwork makes the dream work.
See you, Godiva.
You know, I think that's a good segue. How effective was the Go Cloud Careers community? How valuable was it to you to be able to meet with people with the same goals across the country, across the world rather, and how did that work for your learning experience?
Can I'd like to answer that. That's a very important
I
question.
Alonzo asked you that one, not me.
It's very important, and I like to say it out here that the community was very welcoming. I mean, I got to have. I've never met some people, but they have become personal friends because there was this desire to want to help get you up to speed. I was new. I reached out to 1 or 2 people who I kept seeing their names in class, and I'm going to mention one of them, Sean. Sean was always there. I mean, he gave me his telephone number. He gave me his WhatsApp. He said, reach out to me anytime. You know, we did projects together. When I had interviews and they gave me case studies, Sean will say, you know what? let's work on this case study together. Go crack it. Let's crack it. So I mean, and that was how many other people were. Ezine Friday, another guy called Friday Ezine was also there to help me. He was always, calling. I mean, not forgetting the fact that we had different time zones, but how's it going? Checking up on you. I mean, there was that sense of community. And there is that sense of community because I still have people who reach out to me and we still chat on the phone. So it's very important. It was very important for me. And that's why, for me, people have reached out to me on Slack. It is now a responsibility for me to respond and to assist and to help because that is what I got. You cannot give what you don't have.
Yeah.
I got it, and now I'm happy to give it out.
I love it.
I like that.
Love it too.
I like that. And I got to say, Friday lives over here with me in the Tampa Bay area in Florida. And Friday, he's a pretty good bowler. So he can handle himself on the bowling lane.
Oh, Friday's throwing turkeys, huh?
Yes, yes. Either that or I'm just rusty. But yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Great community.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So I like this question from Desmond. Wallace, I know you are fairly new at your current position, but are you able to see any room for growth? I think that's a good question because the enterprise role a lot of people view as the top. So from your perspective, what are your thoughts?
I've been there 2 months, and in the organization, there's a promotion every December. My team, we have 5 on my team. One person just got promoted to an ED.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So that's one level ahead of me. So, I mean, and it's a huge organization. So once you deliver, there's always space for you at the top. There's always space at the top for you. So, and even if we were not in this organization, with the experience, the name, the levels, the knowledge, there's always room for growth anywhere.
And I'm going to touch on this a little bit because, Desmond, what you may not realize is all big jobs are architect jobs. Wallace could become a chief information officer a few years from now, or a CEO. As the chief information officer, you're architecting the entire technology solution for an organization. As the CEO, you're architecting the goods and services that a business will produce and how the business is going to run. Same thing for a chief operating officer. All big jobs involve architecture. So this could be a stepping stone to him being the CEO 10 years from now. And Wallace, wouldn't surprise me if he did it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Having discussions with Jamie Dimon.
Okay, so here's a good one from Maxi. We haven't asked this question, actually.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't ask this question because I don't know. Maxi says, I wonder if he has any certifications.
Yes, I do. I have an MBA. I have the AWS Solutions Architect. I have the ACE, Avatrix Multi-Cloud Network.
You got the same stuff, yeah.
If you have an MBA, that's the big one.
Yeah, we got the
Master's in Business Administration.
Yeah.
So I had an MBA, 12, 10, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, thereabout. Then, I have the associate. I'm going to be writing the professional this year. Those are the certifications that I have.
So were these brought up in your interview?
No.
Just wanted to know again, please.
No. They just wanted to know if you know cloud and you knew what you were talking about. Nobody wanted it.
And all you said was sticky sessions. Mic drop.
All I said is sticky sessions. They just wanted to know.
They wanted to know your competency.
They wanted to know your competence. They wanted to know if you knew what you're talking about and you could defend it. And I mean, based on that based on the academy and the teachings, if you know something, you know it. Yeah. Mike used to say something. He says, "You know what you know. You know what you don't know."
Yeah.
What I did, was a game. It's a skill. Was I led them to where I knew.
You
we are
controlled the
strong
interview.
in the
Tyrone
interview.
said it. Tyrone said it in the chat box. It sounds like you controlled the interview.
Yeah, so I led them to what I knew, where I was strong, where I was confident,
Yeah.
and I gave it to them there. So again, it was about setting up a resilient architecture. They wanted to know active pilot light. They wanted to know active configuration. They wanted to know RPOs, RTOs, and all that. And I was really studied there. So I took them to that direction and I gave it.
Yeah, you stuck it to them, didn't you,
Lead it
Wallace? That's wonderful.
And
That's
I gotta
awesome.
ask you, where did you figure out how to control the interview?
In the first 30 seconds, you know what you need to, you know how you need to lay down in the first 30 seconds. Because you know what? Again, you cyber stalk who is going to interview you.
Going back to what we showed you in the program. Yeah.
You must go and look at who is interviewing you. Go and put in their names on Google, go to LinkedIn, cyber stalk the hell out of them. Understand them, put yourself in their positions, and then you are psychologically ready.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I like that.
Good question from Omar here. Omar says, Wallace, what's your strategy on note taking and getting the details of your architectures during meetings?
Okay, so I'll tell you my strategy. Somebody asked me this question a few days ago on my Slack. What was the strategy? Study to know, not to pass. That was the first strategy for me. I studied to know it, not just to pass the certification. The second strategy was there is a lot of junk out there. Filter what you put in there. What I decided to do was study AWS because I wanted to be at least know one cloud certification or what cloud platform. So I studied AWS and I stuck to the AWS literature from their websites. It was unadulterated. I didn't go anywhere else. Anything I wanted to research, I researched it on their website. Then I stuck with Go Cloud. Now, why did I stick with Go Cloud? Because I wanted to learn the framework. Mike will teach you, AWS will teach you how to drive, but Mike will teach you how to drive any car. AWS will teach you how to drive a Toyota, for example, a Ford. Mike's Academy will teach you how to drive a car. So you can drive a Ford, you can drive a Volvo, a Lexus, anything. So I decided to stick with that and not to corrupt what I've been learning or what I want. So I stuck with that and I stuck with the AWS literature. Those were the two, to be focused. Those were my two focus strategy. Now, after I stuck with Mike's Academy, what I did in learning was watch every video word for word, rewind, listen. When I don't understand stuff, I go take that stuff and I go into the internet and I listen. So, for example, when we first started talking about enterprise grade of solutions, for example, F5. And I said, what is F5? What the heck is F5? So I went and I took F5 and I put it in Google and it brought out F5. And I read about the company and I read about what they do and I read about the solution. And I said, oh, F5 is a load balancing feature. Well, why not? And that's why instead of using an auto-scaling group, for example, in AWS, you can use F5 as an external. And, so my learning was very concentrated. It was triangular. It was Mike, it was AWS, and it was Google. Mike, AWS, Google, just like that. So I didn't go outside that. So I wanted to have a real focus so that I don't get, distracted by other unnecessary informations.
Okay. And I'm thinking as well, how would that also apply to, say, for instance, you're participating in class, and how would you use your note-taking strategy when you're getting those, learning how to build the architecture in the classes? How would you do that as well?
For me, it was just,
Like
ensuring that
yeah, I think what Omar's asking about here is
Mm,
in a meeting in real time when you don't have the luxury
Yeah.
of being able to review and watch. What are
Right.
some of you, do you have any strategies to be able to gather that information while it's being given so you don't miss it? You got any strategies there?
yeah, I did. I used to put on my phone and record.
Mm.
Now, do you ask for permission before you're doing that?
Oh yes, oh
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, you have to have that. I mean, uh, again, transparency. It's your behavior. An architect has to be trusted. It is your behavior. You don't want to bring out your phone and pretend like you're not recording and they see someone else sees you and you begin to try to explain yourself. So you say, you know what? So I don't miss this information. I'd like to take down this recording if you don't mind, so that I can have time, play it back at my time, and take up the important decisions the information that I've missed, and all that. You have to be plain and transparent. That is your
Yeah.
profession.
Yeah, it sounds like you're able to build that brand and confidence and make them feel important by saying, I want your permission to do this so that because your time is valuable and what you say is important, I want to copy that. And that creates those relationships too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that.
All right. Let's see here. So going back to your interview, I'm not sure if this is something that you needed as part of your interview process, but Marla asked if you
Oh, that's a good question.
had to bring or brought a portfolio of architecture designs or projects builds during your interviews.
For this current job, no. However, for some other interviews, I have done this, and you believe me, you will be required to do some of these portfolio architectures presentation again in some other interviews. It is especially in the UK. I know you will be given tasks to interpret, to break down, to present, and you need to bring this your architecture and explain that architecture to them. So that is where you must know the architecture you're building. You must be able to have the confidence and the skill, that presentation skill, and you should be able to have that listening skill, because those are the skills that are required for an architect position, especially in the UK. You must do this. So you have to learn it if you don't know it.
And this one's a pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
What is your title? I know we've talked about resiliency and enterprise and architect. What's your title?
I'm an enterprise architect, but my specialty is resiliency. So I'm a resilient enterprise architect.
So it's just different facets of enterprise architectures, just like it would different facets of cloud architects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
I like resiliency. That's where I lived while Chris is looking at it. That's why I use 3 service providers for everything.
Yeah.
No more two.
Couple of certification questions, but we actually already answered them. They when we answered the other certification question. Let's see.
Where's she's cute?
Here's a good one, because I know you talked about applying for a few different or going through a couple of interview processes. If you're comfortable, you don't have to. How long were you?
No,
What's your job process?
I wasn't in the job market for too long. When I started to apply, I started to apply a month or two when I joined the academy, and I spoke with Leo and what's the other lady's name? Sorry, what's her name?
Chow.
And she says, you know what? You'll get there. Don't be in a hurry. Get to learn the stuff. get to learn the stuff, get to learn what you want to do, and all that. Don't just slow down. So I took up she said stop applying, and I stopped. So I concentrated on the academy for the next 3 months, 4 months, try not to miss any class. And if I missed any class, so I got into the flow and understood and began to understand the conversations. And when I felt I was ready enough, strong enough, I mean, I'd given 1 or 2 case studies to Chris for us to discuss in class. And, we discussed in class. Mike broke it down. I actually, wanted to imitate how he broke it down, and all that. So I learned all that. And I felt that, well, I was ready enough. And I started to put out CVs, and this opportunity came. So I really wasn't out in the job market for too long. I was probably a few months, maybe 5-6 months, or thereabout. But again, while I was applying, let's not forget that I was in the academy.
Yeah, but the key, you mentioned something. You mentioned that you were applying, and then we told you to stop.
Yes.
And I don't know how much detail we went into, but I'm going to share with everybody why we tell people to stop.
Yeah.
Because if you are interviewing and you get an interview for a company that you could foreseeably work for eventually, but you're not ready now, they're not going. You're going to be turned down.
Yep. Yeah.
And it would have been the exact opposite of what you experienced when you got the turn down email, and then 2 days later they said, "You know what? We have this other opportunity." Because
can I come in? Can I come
yeah,
in?
yeah.
So and it's really important to highlight this, that when I put out my resume, I got really, really, really good companies call me to interview, but I hadn't learned the interview skills, so I blew my chances there.
Right.
I blew my chances with top tier companies. Top 10 rated companies in the world called me to interview, but I blew my chances with. I could call a few of them. Capgemini was there, what they call it, the consulting companies, 3 or 4 of them were there, and all of them. I blew it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I beat myself tough, and that's why I really went hard. And when when Charles told me stop, learn, I took it seriously. I learned. I learned a hard lesson there. I blew the chances because I was in a hurry.
Yeah,
But-
and I mean, it's a very important. I can't stress the importance enough. And the reason I say I is because I have the HR background, and I can't stress the importance enough that if you do that, not you, just everybody, if anybody does that, and you blow your chances with these amazing companies.
Yeah.
And you don't just blow your chance for then, you blow your chance for an indeterminate period of time. Because if you, and I'm not saying specifically with your case, but let's take a hypothetical candidate that applies for a job, they get the interview, they bomb the interview, and that it's clear that they can't do this job.
Yeah.
HR is going to mark them as unhireable.
And you don't know for how long either.
And you don't know for how long. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. It could be indefinite. So that's like, and that's one of the reasons why I'm glad Leo and Chow had that opportunity to tell you, don't do that. We actually, I know it's probably been a little while since you've been in the content at the beginning of the program, but we've actually added a video at the beginning of the program that's called "Don't Rush Yourself."
Yeah.
Because of that, like people get excited, they want to, they start getting these.
Don't jump the gun.
And
so it's also correct when you say, for example, a certification just teaches you the name of the product, because I got the certification, the associate, and I felt all pumped. I felt I was on top of the world, and I put it in my CV, and I got called. One of the companies, Vodafone, I will never forget, called me and interviewed me, and I was just reading out the products, and I had this there was this look on the lady's face who was interviewing me, like, you can't be, you're just kidding, right? You're just telling me names of products, you're not telling me how it works. I just knew that I had blown it, and that opportunity, it haunts me. And so after that, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna stop, like Charles has said, and Leo, and I'm just gonna face the academy head on, and that's what I did. So when the next opportunity came, I didn't blow it.
Yeah, because you were prepared to be an architect, and I like to say the certification may help you get an interview, but it'll never get you hired.
No,
it'll honestly make them laugh at you when you start spilling out AWS nonsense. But once you have the skills, it is a great way to get an interview.
Yeah.
So it's a tool, and as architects, we need to leverage all the tools we have available to us.
Yeah. But I appreciate your candor, Wallace. I mean,
I really,
I thank you for sharing that, because it's something that we have to constantly reiterate over and over again. I know you're excited. I know you're enthusiastic. I know you feel like you're capable at the moment, but once you realize and you go through it, the more you learn and go through the course, the more you realize you have more to learn. And it becomes a humbling process for you to focus on what you need to do to prepare, rather than jumping out there and thinking you can swim, and it's a whole different ballpark.
All right.
Absolutely.
So it is almost 1:00 for Wallace. 1:00 in the morning. We've got some more questions that we can do, but I want to be respectful of your time.
No, I'm happy to answer any questions. It's fine.
Okay.
As long as you're okay.
Right.
Okay.
I'm working from home today, so that's all right.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So which part of the Go Cloud program do you think contribute? This is a trick question. Which part of the program contributed the most to his current success?
There wasn't any path that I isolated, in my journey. Everything came in handy. The interview preps, the real life class in life scenario case studies, the answering question bits, every path was important. Every section of this academy was important to, because it builds in the long run. If you're learning the interview skills, you're going to use that interview skills for real life scenarios. When you're learning the tech, you're going to use that tech for real life scenarios, even in the interview, because there's going to be the technology bit, the tech bit part of the interview. Learning the soft skills is also there, because it's going to be also part of the interview. So one end to the other, it's an end-to-end process. You cannot say what part was most important. It's an end-to-end. You will use every single thing you learn on your job search and in your workplace. Every single thing you learn, you will use that. You will use the training, you will use the tech trainings, you will use the interview trainings, you will use the real life case scenario examples, you will use every path in your journey.
That's good. I mean, it is a product. It is a program that can't be done in pieces. Like, you can't pick and choose.
No,
what to do. It all works together.
Right.
The Friday classes where people may say, "Oh, there's no techie stuff being trained," is, I think, one of the most important pieces that people may miss, because they think it's just we're talking about emotional intelligence, we're talking about how to. Those are very important. They are very key, because even if you don't attend these things and you don't learn it, you will use them in real life scenario. And if you miss the opportunity to learn it, then you make a blunder in real life. You don't want it to be so expensive that you cannot remediate. So learn it and use it.
Do you think it's even possible to do the job without soft skills, communication skills, or leadership skills?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. During the interview, I was asked a leadership question. I was asked, You have a team. How do you work? How do you ensure that everybody is carried along? It's the same thing you do when you're in your meetings, attending to your stakeholders. How do you carry everybody along? How do you lead? How do you teach? How do you, and stuff like that. So you can't isolate it. You can't isolate any part. They're
No.
all moving parts that move together. So
And going past this, because I ask all architects, because we all have our own perspective, what percent of you would you consider business? Under business, I would consider either things related to business or leadership or sales, executive presence, communication. That's business. And the other side of this is tech. Which percentage would you say of the architect's job is business and which percentage is tech in your role?
90% business, 10% tech. Tech is only because
Wow.
you need to know you need to know it. Tech is because you need to know it. 90 every other thing is 90%. What? Because it's a business, it's a going concern. It's evolving. You're dealing with multiple moving parts, and you need to deal with those moving parts. You need to attend to those moving parts.
Yeah.
So
Business transformation.
This business transformation. So so the tech, it's good to know. You can have a conversation about it, but that's not your job.
That's not the job.
When you think about the spectrum of tech all the way on this side, and then you think about how much it's, like you said, that 10% tech and business transformation, you see the difference of why tech is not as important when you're dealing with architecture, and how it's the community that helps, those collaborative efforts that help to transform that architecture is far more important.
It's why the certification programs fail for architects, because it doesn't focus on the 80 to 90% of the job, which is the business stuff.
So Wallace said something earlier in the response to this. He said he was asked a leadership question. So what a lot of people don't think about is and we're talking about the interview here, he actually got asked a leadership question, but your soft skills, your emotional intelligence, your ability to communicate and read people and listen and show leadership in an interview, I'm actually surprised that you got asked a question about leadership. These are things that you do in response to other questions that aren't specifically about leadership or emotional intelligence. Let's take your question about servers that you were asked, and you knew the correct answer and knew that what they were telling you was incorrect. The way that you handled that was the true answer to that situation.
Yeah.
It's not these soft skills, this emotional intelligence, this leadership. These things are, I don't know what's the word, ephemeral. It's I don't know if that's the right word. It's what comes to mind, but they're not things that you're point blank asked.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you'll get asked hypothetical situational leadership questions about how would you handle two team members who aren't working together. That's a BS question. But they're really judging your leadership and all these factors on everything else. And it's not something that you answer head on. It's something that you are actively doing and you just do it. Not to sound like Nike here, but it's
a lifestyle. It's what
right.
you live. Yeah.
So I just you the fact that you were asked a leadership question made me realize it's like, wait, you don't actually, like, people don't normally get asked about leadership or asked about soft skills or asked about communication. It's just you portray it, you do it, and they pick up on it, or they're like, oh no, he doesn't have this, he can't do this, he can't handle this. Oh yeah, he can handle this, he did that right, he did it exactly how it was supposed to be done. So it got me thinking. So, and these are, I'm going to the point of the classes that you talk about. It's so important, either the classes or watching the recordings, doing the content in the program. um, taking part in it, not just observing from like as if you're not a part of. Does that make sense? If you're even when you're watching a recording, you need to be thinking of it from the perspective of I'm in this. This is me.
On one occasion, when I was in class, Mike asked me to be the lead architect, and I wanted the ground to open and swallow me because I didn't have the confidence. But I mean, first of all, I had started having issues with my computer and all that and all that. But I knew that I needed to get settled. I needed to get it done because I said to myself, this might be a real life situation. I may have to present a solution. Just get it done. Get up and get it done. And I did. It wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be, but I did. After that day, I began to practice scenarios we did in class in the mirror. I will talk about it. I will listen to the solution. I will talk about it and I will present into the mirror. And it started to build my confidence because, again, it's not that I couldn't present. I could present. I've always been in sales. I was always doing presentations, but I was now not selling a solution. I wasn't selling a product. I was selling a solution, and I need to know the solution that I was selling. So it was totally different for me. And so I had to keep doing it and keep doing it. And you learn by doing and doing and doing and doing. And that's really for me what the distinguishing factor was the fact that I wasn't a tech person, but I could understand, I could sell that technology clearly. And that's really what all these interviews were all about. They wanted to see how clearly you could communicate, how you could communicate a tech problem into a business problem for everybody to understand, how how your communication skills were, how your relationship skills were, how your management skills were, everything. And everything comes into play in small chunks, but they're watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So let's get to this next question. So, how long did it take you to complete the program?
I'm guilty.
What was it like? I mean, I don't know if you've seen Daniel's talk, but when Daniel talks about his experience, he's like, yeah, I joined the program and then I tried to do my own thing for like 6 months and didn't do anything that Mike said. And then I came back and did everything he said.
And then I was hard.
So how long did it take you and what was it like? What did you do everything we told you or did you kind of
I did everything you told me, but I didn't complete the program. The truth is that I didn't complete the program. Being going to be honest, I did not complete the program until before I got hired. However, the little that I did, I was there for under 6 months or thereabouts, 4 to 6 months. But I was consistent. I watched the videos. I did all the assignments that was ascribed to me. Everything, I did it consistently. Now, I didn't get to become I wanted to be on the program. You gave the opportunity to be a security architect if you wanted to be one. I didn't get to that path of being the real depth security architect, but you know what? I still get offers for security roles because the program alone showed me the minimum security standards, how to build a secure application. It tells you in the videos. You don't even have to be a professional. These videos, these real life recordings tells you all that. It will tell, I mean, even in the free sessions on YouTube will tell you what is a firewall. What does a firewall do? What are the benefits of a firewall? These are things that you will learn and off heart. It's not something that you even need to go into the academy to do. YouTube, the Glow Cloud YouTube channel will tell you these things. So you just have, for me, it's not the length, it's how dedicated you are in the time you spend.
Could you say that one more time, Wallace? Say it for the ones in the back.
Yeah, dedication. It's not how long. It's not how long. It's how dedicated you are when you are in the program. What you learn, how dedicated you are to learn what you learn in the time that you are in the program. Now, if you're dedicated for 1 month and you're lucky to get an interview that will to grill you on what you've learned for 1 month, you will come across as the perfect solution to their hiring needs, because you were dedicated and you learned in that 1 month. But you have to be dedicated on the program.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I think a lot of people, they're in a rush. Well, how can I do this? How fast can I get from point A to point B? But if you're going through it and you're just going through the motions, how are you learning? How are you applying anything that we're trying to teach you and being, going to be successful in these interviews, let alone the role? So I when people ask me that, I said, slow down. Are you understanding the work? If we're able to apply that, are you going to be quick enough to understand all this? To my point. So they're not. So
No.
All right, here's a good one. How confident have you felt about the knowledge once you started executing your duties on a daily basis?
Fear is a good thing. Fear is a good thing. It will help you to be cautious. It will help you to check all boxes. So, yes, I'm confident, but I'm also cautious. I'm cautious not to make mistakes and not to appear as a rookie, but I'm confident to initiate conversations. I'm confident to initiate conversations that will lead to solutions, right? That's the confidence for me.
Is it safe to say that you don't know everything?
Absolutely.
And because you don't know everything, you're comfortable with that because you don't know everything. So you're comfortable with that situation and how to handle things because of that.
And I'm thinking that probably might have been a benefit on your interviews because they know you have the humility to say, I'm open to learning and being able to apply whatever it is that you have to offer to be successful.
So on the interview, I was asked a question on how do you seem to be new to technology, know all these. How do you think that you're going to be able to cope? Because technology is changing, it's frequently changing and all that. And I said, I don't know anything. I don't think I even know half as much as I need to know, but I'm like a sponge. I will attend every podcast. I will listen to every podcast. I will listen to every publication on technology. Any technology that I'm working with, I will read it. I will go on the internet. I will research. Because I will keep learning. It is a learning that will not stop. And that is what it is. Even if you get a job today, you will have to keep learning.
Absolutely.
You will have to keep learning. So, look, the tough is being an architect. The tough part of it all is becoming an architect. You get into a job and it becomes even tougher because you have to defend why they hired you.
Every day.
Every day.
Earn it every day.
Every day. And that's why I've said it over and over again. I keep coming back to the academy and logging onto my own private page and watching how you've gone about solving problems on either the live classes, on the recordings, on the soft skill trainings. I just go to where I think I'm lacking, and I watch it, and I see, how people have come and brought in their own form of solutions, and I put these solutions together, and I take it away. These are learnings to me that are learnings like a lifetime. They are lifetime learnings of other people for lifetime, and I can watch it in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes and, employ it. It's good enough for me.
I like that. I
Yeah,
like
I like that.
Dropping lots of gems here, Wallace.
Sure is.
All right, here's a question. Hey, Wallace, did the program appear overwhelming at the beginning? How were you able to navigate the modules?
To answer two questions. Yes, it was overwhelming. Overwhelming. I was lost. I mean, when people are talking, and when they were talking about, issues, servers, hypervisors, I was like, what the heck are these guys talking about? Like, what the heck are that? But you see, um, where I come from in Africa, there's an Africa proverb that says, patience can cook a stone.
Oh,
I like that.
love that. I have to add that to my list.
I like that.
Patience can cook a stone. So I was very patient to listen. And you see, Mike said something. We don't segregate the class of who joined first or not. Everybody goes and learns at the same pace because we keep repeating. There was always, it doesn't change. You keep repeating, and people begin to now start hearing these things over and over again. And if you're genuinely interested, you will hear EC2 instance and you will say, what is EC2 instance? And you will go and do the research on your own. And then the next time you come back to class, EC2 instance is not strange to you anymore. You now understand. And you say, okay, you put an EC2 instance and you want to deploy it, or how do you want to do it? You hear these things, you go, you research it, you come back. It's beginning to tell a story, to build a block. You're building blocks. And then before you know it, in a month or 2 months, you're flowing with the lingua. You understand what people are talking about. You're understanding how you're securing your EC2, or what type of file you put into an S3 bucket. Those things, because you want to learn. I'm not saying Go Cloud is the silver bullet, but it is the closest thing to the silver bullet. You have to do your own research on the side. This is guidance. This is guidance. It's guiding you how to, take interview questions, how to become certified. It's guiding you how to become an architect. It's giving you your soft skill. But you have to also do your own further research. I was living, I was breathing, I was sleeping. Because I wanted the platform to, to say I know. I was living, sleeping, breathing AWS. I chose AWS as my platform, but I was also living, sleeping, breathing Go Cloud. Every time when I'm driving to pick my kids from school, I'm watching a video on Go Cloud on my phone, or I'm playing it through the speakers, right? I'm driving to pick up the missus from work. I'm playing Go Cloud. I mean, the first day my wife was in the car with me listening to Go Cloud when I was talking to you, Mike. And you were talking and you were telling me about because you tested me. In fact, she laughed at me at dinner that day because you tested me on 3 things to know about the cloud, and I failed them. And you said, you know what? You're good in sales. You're good in this. All you need is the training in tech. She was in the car. She reminded me when I got the job. She says, have you told Mike that it was because of these 3 things that you failed that you joined the academy, and now you're an architect? Now, I'm saying these things because these are real life situations. It happened to me. I didn't hear it from people. I was leaving Go Cloud because I saw that it added value. You understand? So while I was doing my research, while I was studying to certify for the AWS architect, no doubt about it, I was studying for it. But I wanted to be an architect. I didn't want to just get the certification. I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to earn big money. That's the truth.
Good.
Yeah,
You will. Yeah. Or you are.
I
you will
wanted
for a lot more things.
I wanted to change my life. So I really said, well, you know what? This is what I want to do. And I stuck with it. And I started to, it was. So I was working full time. So every single independent time or times that I had, I would log on to my page, or I will listen on the podcast, or I will listen through the car speakers when I'm driving. I'm just trying to one if it was even 30 minutes or 15 minutes, learn something new that will never leave. So that's how I kept doing it. Now I started to use friends, my wife, my friends as guinea pigs. I was talking to them about EC2 instances. And they were saying, you are a salesman. How come you're talking like a technology person? You're a salesman. You're supposed to be a salesman. They couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it myself. But because I I had changed everything about me. I really wanted to go for it. So I'm not saying it because I want you guys to feel good. I'm saying it because it is the truth. I got nothing but the truth from this academy, and I used it, and it worked for me.
So happy.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
I'm running out of space on marking these timestamps that I got. All these gold nuggets that
Wow.
he's dropping just along the way. All right.
It's got to be inspiring for everyone that's still in the program to push even harder to be where they want to be.
And Wallace, you listened to the advice when I said, if you don't know something, go look it up. And I intentionally had it that way because in real architecture projects, you got a problem, you break the big problem down into little problems, and then you got to go look stuff up. I tried to make it as real life as you could possibly get, and part of that is looking things up. So
that's not even just as an architect.
No, any
job in the real, anything in the real world. Nobody's gonna have a golden answer for you. There's no answer book. Like it's not. It's not like, oh, here's your folder of answers. Here's all the answers you're ever gonna have.
Never worked that way. Never will.
Never will. Not for anything in any career.
Yeah.
And because I became this confident that it was, recruiters would reach out to me and give me a job specification that I knew was not an architect role, and I'll say, "Did you see my resume? Did you read my resume?" And they say, "Yes." I said, "I am an architect. I don't touch the tech.
Yes.
I don't configure. I do
learn
not
to say no. Like
I do not.
This is not a role for me. I don't want this role.
This is not.
Move on.
So I became that confident to know my role, what I wanted. Nobody's going to ask you how you're going to use kinesis, or nobody's going to ask you how you're going to use SNS and SNS. Nobody's going to ask you that as an architect.
Yeah.
Why?
Because you can't use it anyway. It's proprietary. You're going to use something different.
Nobody's going to ask you that. If you're going to use that, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to use something proprietary outside, and this is why I'm using it. So when you said take out all the jargons, EC2, if you put EC2 instance on your CV, if you put DNS configuration, take it out. Nobody look. That's not what a real. I took it all out.
Yeah.
And I
wrote difference in the world.
And I wrote in pure English how I built a solution, how I designed a solution that met the business needs.
So let's let that soak in, because English is not your first language, correct, Wallace?
Well, not my first language, yeah.
Yeah. So you did something. You created a architectural solution in a second language, and you're able to present that to people in a second language that you're not. That wasn't your first.
That actually reminds me. I don't think I know we talked. I know we know this. I don't think we talked about it on the actual live stream. You're in the UK, but where are you originally from?
Lagos, Nigeria.
Okay.
Oh, I lived in Lagos.
Like I said, we knew that, but the hundreds of people that are watching us right now, it's like, oh yeah, we just took that for granted. So you're originally from Lagos, Nigeria, and now you live in the UK.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It really is terrific. So is Yoruba your primary language, at least the one that you grew up with?
Actually, I grew up with English as my primary language because I can't speak my I can't speak my local language. It's bad, but I don't know.
He's like, I'm going to speak the language that gives me the money.
Smart.
All right. So this is a good question. How much do you consider mindset versus skills during your interview?
Mindset versus skill. I think your skills gives you the mindset you need. Once you know you have the skill, then you go into that interview with the mindset of going to ace that interview. So you need to be skilled up to get that mindset.
Perfect. So that's exactly what I was thinking.
It's not mindset versus skill. It is skill, have the skill, and then you have the mindset to go into to any interview.
Yep. All right. So Carl says, is there one thing you could say is the biggest challenge on your day-to-day basis?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good one.
A challenge. You don't know what's coming next. the life of an architect. You don't know what's coming next.
That's the level. That's the life of any high level position.
Exactly.
You don't know what is coming next today. You have something that you need to approve or to discuss. You have one new meeting of a new project that's coming. You have one IRFI you need to respond to. You really don't know what's coming next. You have a virtual data center that has gone down and you need to travel. Or you need to have it as a physical data center. You need to migrate. You need to go and see. Baseline the system. You don't know what's coming next. You really don't know.
You got to put out
And that's why
fires.
you have
gotta-
to build such good team building skills, because
Yeah.
there's no way in 50 lifetimes anybody can learn all of it. So it's about managing others and just coordinating with all the people you know so well.
So some days I wake up and I look at my calendar for work, and from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. is empty, right? And I'm saying, it's going to be a light day. And I go and make a cup of tea, and I come back and I have 15 meeting requests. I have to accept all of them. And I say, there goes my day,
Yeah.
So it happens like that. So there's no what is your typical day as an architect, or there's nothing like that. There's no.
You know what the constant is about that, Wallace, is what I've learned is that when you're not getting called, that's when you start worrying.
Yes.
Yes. That's the scary thing.
Like, what? Something's not going right. You got to go and check
Something's wrong,
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So next one. Can you answer if we need to learn CCNA or Solution Architect Certs before taking part in the Go Cloud program?
I'm going to answer that.
You took part in the program. I think you can answer it.
So absolutely not.
No.
But if you decide to take the architect sets, if you're doing a program and you want to do the certifications, you ace the certifications very quickly. Because the program teaches more than the names. It teaches. It doesn't teach just the names. It teaches how to use those names to achieve purpose. So if you're on the program, you're already, I think, you're one step ahead or closer to getting those certifications faster.
Yeah, and just to clarify, we specifically designed the program for people that know nothing.
Yes.
Know
You
nothing
start from the
about the
ground up.
cloud. So you don't have to know anything before joining the program. If you want to become a cloud architect and you know nothing about cloud computing, you can join the program. So there's no prerequisites or anything. We're not gonna look at you weird because you don't know what a load balancer is or what a EC2 instance is or a virtual machine is. That's what we're here for.
Exactly.
So, all right, this question: how much do you exactly do? Because resilient enterprise architect sounds like they only ask you about resilience.
Majorly resilience. But you remember, it's firm-wide.
Yeah.
It is not, and resilience is a big thing, especially because we have, banking, and banking has critical applications that cannot go down. Applications that have to be secure across multiple zones, multiple countries. So it is a full-time and more job because you're talking to different regions at the same time. You're overseeing architectural diagrams that are meant for deployment. You're approving this or rejecting this. You're in meetings with application developers, product owners, putting in your resilient requirements and ensuring that there's what we call resilient by design. So in designing these applications, I, as a representative of my team, has to be there to design the applications in such a way that while it's being designed, resilience is considered. So it is a full-time role.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how big resilience is. I've been learning resilience for 25 years, and I still have to learn. How many people are on your resilience team? 25, 50?
Core team,
Whole
5.
team that people are involved in resilience?
5.
5? Okay.
Whew,
5.
very highly special.
Yeah.
Highly specialized.
Wow. All right. So our next question. As a cloud architect, do you work overtime? My friend Cloud Architect told me that sometimes he works 60 hours a week as a cloud architect. I was surprised.
Of course, you don't work. I don't no, I don't believe in when someone says I work 60 hours or 100 hours. You work when there's need to work, when you need to get the job done. That's why you work. That's why you're paid. You do the job you're paid to do. So when you say I work 60 hours a week, I work 100 hours a week, if that's what it takes to get the job done, then do it. But if not, my normal work time is 9 to 5. If something can wait, then I will attend to it the next time I get into the office or I open my computer to work. However, if you are you're managing critical applications or critical situations, if you have to wake up at 3 a.m. to get the job done, then you have to wake up at 3 a.m. to get the job done. So I'm not big on number of hours you work or the hours you don't work. I'm big on, do you get the job done when it is necessary or when it is important? If that is what my job entails, then I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to answer this from the perspective of someone that doesn't even work in tech. 60 hours a week. 60 hours a week for positions at this level.
For this amount of money?
For this amount of money. I come from the hotel industry. 60 hours a week for a salary employee is a piece of cake.
Yes.
I loved when I only had to work 60 hours a week.
Mm.
That's a completely different industry.
Yeah, it's not like you're doing something where someone is telling you to do something. You are leadership.
Exactly.
There's no overtime. Wallace answered it appropriately. It's what it takes. What it takes. So one week it might take 30 hours.
Yeah.
And you know, that 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. block that he doesn't have anything on his calendar, there's going to be days where it doesn't fill up.
Right. What if something breaks?
And he actually does have those 4 or 5 hours of time.
I have a meeting next week. I have to wake up at 3 a.m. to attend because the meeting is being hosted in Singapore.
Yeah, but for just as many times as you do something like that, you're going to have other times that
there are going to be downtimes.
You're not doing anything. You're having downtime.
You are the solution. You're not being told what to do. Wallace is the answer, and whatever he comes up with, something. What if there's disaster recovery while he's sleeping? What if there's something there's an emergency where they said, "Okay, Wallace, confer with the team. What needs to happen? How can we turn this around during these specific times to get everything back up and running?" He needs to make it happen.
Yeah,
this is it's you got to change the way you're thinking, because at the end of the day, Wallace is an executive.
Yes.
Yeah. 60 hours a week.
That's light.
I mean, it just
needs to be done.
Simple math. That's if you're working
12 hours a day,
7:30 to 6, 5 days a week, you're getting close to 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. I mean, especially in today's environment. Like, there's a whole live stream that we have about work-life harmony. One of the biggest problems that I see from people right now is because they're not working in an office setting is that
Yeah.
they are the ones letting themselves work
Yeah.
80 hours a week, 100
Mhm.
hours a week, 110 hours a week. They are, not their boss, not their teams, not their employer. They, the individual, is letting themselves do it. If the boss, if you were in the office, the boss would probably be writing you to get you out of the office if
Yep.
they saw that you were working 100 hours a week, or even 60. If they knew, if you were working in an office setting and it was a week where you didn't, where 60 hours was crazy, like pointless, that your team and your boss and all your coworkers would be writing you like, get out of here, go home, dude, just do something else. But in this day and age, I've seen it over and over again. It's ourselves. It's the individual that's letting themselves do that. And Wallace hit the nail on the head. If it can wait. Not every
Prioritization.
situation needs to be handled right now.
Yeah, it's a
If it can wait.
prioritization thing. Yeah.
If it can wait, it can wait. It's going to be okay that it's done at 9:30 tomorrow morning instead of at 5 p.m. today. Now, there's other things that need to be done right now because it's going to affect everybody, or it's going to affect an entire department. And so yeah, it's about somebody mentioned the word mindset earlier. There's no overtime in these types of positions.
No.
no.
It's a mindset that needs to be adjusted.
Yeah.
I have a deliverable, and I need to deliver, but you're given time.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to deliver by the 2nd of February, by the 3rd of February. You are the executive. You are the person who has these deliverables. You need to know when to manage your time and how to make sure you deliver. My boss is in the US. I'm 5 hours ahead of him. So I probably will be awake before him. Get these things done, send these things into his email, and then carry on with my day. He wakes up, he's happy. I've given him what he wants. It didn't affect me in any way. And even if it affected me anyway, I was doing my job. You need to be able to do your job while you are able to manage your time also.
Yep.
Exactly.
I
Let me go into.
take a nap in the middle of the day most days.
Yeah, why not?
But that's because I'm getting things done, and when it works.
And who cares? But let's get a little bit into the hours that a cloud architect typically does. These aren't exactly hard hours. And what I mean by this is, you may start your day at 8, and you may go to meetings and then take a client to lunch, especially if you're pre-sales like most of us, and then work until 5, and then take somebody out for drinks for an hour or two, and then take them to dinner, and that turns into your 60-hour week. You're taking them to nice restaurants, you're playing golf with your clients, you're taking them to football games, whether it be American football or soccer, whichever you call it, whichever country you're in. A lot of the work we do is entertaining clients. And there's a lot of people that like drinking $150 bottles of wine and having $25 shots of scotch and really good food meals as part of their job. So yeah, it could be long hours, but there are days where I spent a week at Palm Beach and did nothing. And then the next week I'd be taking flights to Dubai and having long hour meetings. And the week after that, I'd be in my home in Greece. Yeah. And then after the next 2 weeks, I had hard weeks. And then the week after that, it was nothing. So exactly as Wallace said, if there's work to be done, you do it. But that's not just as an architect. It's as a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or any professional job where you get paid a lot.
Yeah, and you can definitely equate that to being a doctor. I think it's result oriented instead of effort oriented. Because it's just like a doctor.
Mauricio just said that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Mauricio. Yeah. It's like, a doctor, it's the same thing. I don't care if the doctor puts in tons of work. If he can't get what I need done, I need that solution done. People get sick, people perish. It's the same thing with Wallace. It's like, I need a solution, Wallace. What can we do? And those different tiers of solution about what can we do now, low hanging fruit, and how can we work our way up to provide that full encompassing solution that meets stakeholder needs.
Yeah. And that's the key, is it doesn't matter. If Alonzo said, I'm going to a martial arts class and then homeschooling my kids, but he gets the job done, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Yeah. So one of the, that is one of the beauties of I don't know if it's new and forever, but the current remote work environment is it does allow that flexibility, especially in these level of roles. These level roles were already flexible
Yeah.
in an office setting. Now they've become even more flexible and if managed appropriately and not taken advantage of by the individual, then it produces amazing results.
Yeah, it goes right back to the brand. It's like, what type of person are you, and what are you giving out there? You know, can we trust you?
Early in my career, I learned there's a saying that that goes freedom through responsibility. You should be responsible with the freedom that you are giving.
You
Freedom
break that,
through
you're
responsibility.
yeah, it's not good for you.
So we actually don't have any more questions. So I want to thank everybody for taking part tonight. That was I really enjoy these sessions where we get the opportunity to hear from people that have been in the program, taken part in our content, and have gone on to their success. And I want to thank Wallace for joining us. I know
Definitely.
it's almost 2 a.m. Wallace's time.
Well,
So to thank Wallace for joining us, let's get a hashtag cloud hired in the chat box.
Hashtag.
And a congratulations for Wallace. And hopefully Wallace will join us again a little while down the road for a check-in.
I'm always in the class. Sometimes I don't just talk, and I'm always on the YouTube sessions, but I don't talk. I just listen.
Well, if you're ever in class, let us know you're there, because I'll be thrilled to know you're there. But if I don't know that you're there and you're still there, I'm still happy. Next time I go to England, we should have a scotch. Although if you make it to Palm Beach or somewhere around that, I have to take you to dinner, because I'd love to meet you in person.
Thank you so much.
It has been an ultimate pleasure, sir. Definitely, it just sharing those nuggets with the group and everything else. It's been an honor, sir. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for having me. Chris, thank you for inviting me. Mike, thank you for that knowledge that you have impacted. It has changed my life. You don't understand. I wish there was more words that I could use to convey it. That you have literally changed my life. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for all the help, all the assistance, all the confidence, everything. Alonzo, Chris, the team, everybody was very professional. Questions I had were answered immediately. Everything was, thank you so much. You have changed my life. And I will say again, you all are doing the Lord's work. Don't stop. It's more than impacting knowledge. You're changing lives. So thank you so much.
And thank you. And I'm honestly honored and feel very privileged to have been able to work with you and know you. You have no idea how grateful I am to know you.
Thank you so much, Mike.
So I got a question. Do you have any plans to get a cat?
Nope.
I'm the only one on here. I'm a dog guy. So, but
I'm a dog guy, but
okay.
A dog guy.
Dogs are good too.
I'm a dog guy, but I don't think I'm ready for this responsibility now.
Like as a father, that's enough, right? Well,
yeah.
At least you don't have a cat that only drinks bottled water and needs shrimp and tuna cooked for her fresh every single day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right, so I'm going to close it out. Just want to remind everybody, we do have on this Thursday, we have our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar, where you can learn about the program that Wallace was just talking about, the program that he went through, that he was sharing his experience about. You can join us Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time to hear all about that. Ask us questions about that. Me, Mike, and Alonzo will be there. We'll be able to answer all of your questions. We'd love to have you. We always look forward to that session on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Also, this week, we're going to have a special session about the hot topic that's going around these days, how to handle a layoff. Maybe you've been laid off, or maybe you're worried about getting laid off, or just curious about the what to do. And then the second part, the most important part, how to get hired or rehired with a better job.
Yes.
We're gonna do a special webinar about that this Friday at 3:15 p.m. Eastern. I know that 3:15 p.m. seems off, but Alonzo and I have a 2-hour class from 1 to 3 on Friday, and so we gotta turn around and do the webinar for you guys. So so that will be this Friday at 3:15. p.m. Eastern. Make sure to register at the link in the chat box. And then lastly, I want to remind everybody that for a little bit longer, we had this 60% off discount on the Cloud Architect Career Development Program that we've all been talking about
for a while.
You heard it from Wallace. I'm not putting words in his mouth. The value that he got for what he paid was incomparable. You get, there's so much that you get from this, and we want you to take advantage of it if you're able to. So take advantage of that if you're able to. We just want to help you reach your goals as quickly as possible. That's what we're all here for. We want everybody to be like Wallace and everyone else that we have on the channel. So just wanted to tell everybody about those things. And again, Wallace, thank you for joining us. It's been a great evening. Sure. Any last words from anybody?
I just had a great time. I had a great time. This was actually my first time having some conversations with Wallace. I've heard about him. I saw him in our community, but to see the determination, everything he put forward in the program, and see it come to fruition, blessings. And I'm just very happy and excited for you and your future to come. What about you, Mike?
I'm so excited for you, Wallace, because this is a great job now.
Yeah.
But with the work ethic you have, the communication skills and leadership skills that you have, along with those super developed soft skills now, wow, you have no idea all the great things that are going to happen for you, both where you're at and other opportunities. But where you're at is a pretty incredible place. I spent a lot of time in banking, and I'm really excited and proud of you.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Yep. And any last words, Wallace, before we get off the air?
Go cloud, go high. So I think you guys are the best out there. You want honesty, you want discipline, you want content, you want you want professionalism. It's Go Cloud. It's Go Cloud. No one comes close. Keep what you're doing and keep changing lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wallace.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a good evening. Y'all. Y'all have a good evening. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.